Welcome to another deep dive, but today we're doing things a bit differently. Usually we're digging into real-world events and, trying to separate fact from fiction.
Right.
But this time, we're flipping the script a little. We're diving into a world of, conspiracies and suspense and all that. But our source material this time, it's not a news story or a research paper or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's actually a thriller novel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So our source material is To Die For by David Baldacci. And I know what you might be thinking. What can we learn from, a fictional world?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
'Cause, we're so used to dealing with facts and evidence.
Right. Exactly.
But I think even in fiction, there are these little nuggets of truth, these insights into human nature, the way that power dynamics play out.
Yeah.
And I think To Die For, it does a really good job of kind of like throwing us right into the action with this mysterious death right from the start.
Right away.
Ellis and Dwayne Odom, seemingly ordinary couple,
Right.
found dead in their new home. And at first glance, it looks like a drug overdose.
Yeah. And that's what everyone thinks initially, right?
Exactly.
But then as we get deeper into the story...
Things start to unravel.
Oh, yeah.
Things get a little messy.
Yeah. Their daughter, Betsy, she insists that her parents didn't use drugs. And then the autopsy reveals that it wasn't an overdose at all. It was cyanide poisoning.
Wow. So right away, Baldacci is kind of setting up this puzzle, right?
Absolutely.
With each piece, it's adding another layer of intrigue, and you're constantly trying to figure out, okay, what's really going on here? Like, what's the truth?
And it kind of makes you think about those real-life cases where, you have an initial report and you think, okay, this is what happened. And then later on, evidence emerges and it completely changes the narrative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen that, in the news or even, historically?
Several times, right.
Yeah, where you think, oh, this is an open and shut case, and then boom, something completely changes your perspective.
Exactly. So it really highlights that importance of, not jumping to conclusions and really doing that deep dive to uncover what's really going on. So we have a suspicious death, a family with potential secrets. And then we're introduced to Danny Glass.
The uncle.
Right. And this guy is kind of a wild card. He's a criminal kingpin, but he's also deeply devoted to Betsy. He even wants to adopt her.
It's a really interesting dynamic, right? Because on one hand, you have this hardened criminal.
Right.
This guy who's, involved in all sorts of illegal activities.
Yeah, he's not exactly a saint.
No, not at all.
But then on the other hand, he shows this genuine concern for Betsy's well-being.
Yeah, like almost a paternal instinct.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, can someone be both a hardened criminal and a loving guardian?
It's one of those questions that I don't think has a simple answer.
It really makes you think about, human nature in a different way, I think.
Absolutely.
And speaking of complex characters, there's Prue Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
The former CIA assassin.
Yeah, she is a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, talk about a character with layers, right?
Oh, yep.
She attempts to kill Devine, our main protagonist, multiple times. But then she also saves his life at a crucial moment. It's classic Baldacci, right?
It's like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah. You get that sudden twist, and it just throws everything you thought you knew into question.
And it's so well done, because at first you're like, okay, Prue's the bad guy. She's out to get Devine.
Purely antagonistic.
Right. But then when she saves him,
yeah,
you're like, wait a minute. Is there something else going on?
Is there more to the story?
Is there a shared enemy, maybe? Or is there, a twisted sense of justice?
Yeah. Like, what are her true motivations?
Right. And it keeps you guessing throughout the entire book.
Absolutely.
Did you find yourself kind of going back and forth on her?
Oh, all the time.
Ah.
I mean, every time she appeared on the page, I was like, okay, what's she going to do next?
Is she friend or foe?
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
It's such a great literary device.
And then the story shifts gears a little bit.
Yeah.
And it introduces us to Ricketts.
Oh, this town.
Right.
So seemingly idyllic at first glance, right?
Yeah, it's like this picture-perfect town.
But with this inexplicably advanced infrastructure. Yeah, you're kind of like, how did this small town get all this, cutting-edge technology?
Yeah. It's like something's not quite right.
Something's off.
Yeah, like too perfect, too pristine, like a movie set almost.
And that's exactly what makes you suspicious, right?
Exactly. Because in a thriller, you know that nothing is as it seems.
Right. Nothing is what it seems.
And especially when we start learning about its connection to this clandestine organization called 122465.
Oh, yeah. That's when things start to get really interesting.
Yeah. It's like, okay, there's definitely something sinister lurking beneath the surface of this picture-perfect town.
And this is where the novel really starts to explore those themes of government corruption and conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
Because we learn that Eric King, the police chief, and his wife, Mercedes, the mayor, they're key figures in 122465.
And their goal is to overthrow the U.S. government.
Which is pretty intense.
Pretty bold goal.
Right. So it makes you wonder, like, could a group like this actually exist in real life?
Right, because we often hear about conspiracy theories and, groups with extremist ideologies. But is it really possible for them to infiltrate positions of power like this?
And to operate with such, sophistication and planning.
Yeah. It really makes you question how much of this fiction is actually mirroring real-world concerns.
Yeah, it's a little unnerving to think about.
It is.
And just when you think you've got a handle on things,
Another twist.
Prue drops a bombshell.
Right.
She reveals that Mercedes, the mayor, she's actually a former CIA agent.
Ann Cassidy.
Right, Ann Cassidy. Someone has a score to settle with.
So suddenly this small town becomes the stage for a much larger and more dangerous game.
Yeah, the stakes get a lot higher.
And it's not just about local politics anymore. It's about espionage, international intrigue.
Yeah, it's like Baldacci is weaving together all these different threads.
Right.
Personal vendettas, political conspiracy.
And it all comes together in this really intricate web of intrigue.
And it keeps you hooked.
Absolutely.
Did you find yourself trying to, untangle those threads as you were reading?
Oh, yeah. I was constantly trying to figure out, okay, who's playing who? What are their end games?
Yeah, and just when you think you're getting close, you get another curveball.
Like Perry Rollins.
Oh, yeah, he tries to sell divine information.
Right.
But then he ends up dead.
It just adds another layer of suspense.
Oh, yeah, because you're like, oh, okay, who killed him? And what information was he going to reveal?
And how does it all connect to the larger conspiracy?
Exactly. And then there's Betsy's testimony, this seemingly ordinary 12-year-old girl.
But her words reveal a chilling truth about 122465's ultimate goal.
Right, which is to create an isolated extremist nation.
And that really elevates the story beyond a simple thriller, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It makes you think about the potential consequences of unchecked extremism.
Right. Like, what happens when these fringe ideologies gain traction and they start to reshape society?
It's scary to think about.
It is. And it makes you wonder, how did these groups gain followers in the first place?
Yeah. How did they become so influential?
And how do we as individuals recognize and resist these dangerous ideologies?
Those are really important questions.
Yeah, and there are questions that Baldacci forces us to confront in this novel.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right?
Very.
Because we're not just dissecting a fictional plot.
Right.
We're exploring themes and questions that are actually relevant to our everyday lives.
Yeah, and I think that's the brilliance of Baldacci's writing.
Yeah.
He manages to weave these really thought-provoking ideas seamlessly into this gripping and entertaining thriller.
So it's not just entertainment, it's also a way to learn and grow and challenge our perspectives.
Exactly.
Which is why I love this book so much.
It's a great one.
And why we chose it for this deep dive.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into To Die For.
Yeah. We've talked about the mysterious deaths, the complex characters, the shadowy organization, 122465.
And we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to unpack.
So much more to uncover. So be sure to join us for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the conspiracies, the betrayals, and the ultimate showdown between good and evil.
I can't wait.
All right, see you next time.
See you then. It's amazing how Baldacci uses this fictional narrative, right, to highlight some of those real-world dilemmas. And it's not just about extremism either. It's also about the ethical implications of using civilian assets in these high-stakes government operations.
Yeah, like young Betsy.
Exactly. Here's this 12-year-old girl thrust into this world of espionage and counterterrorism. It's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone a child.
Yeah, it's like she becomes a pawn in this game that's being played by these really powerful figures.
Right.
And it makes you question, what's the acceptable cost of national security? Like, at what point do the ends justify the means? Especially when innocent lives are at stake.
It's a tough question. And Baldacci doesn't shy away from portraying the human cost of these decisions.
No, he doesn't.
We see it in Devine, battling his own demons, while trying to protect Betsy, and in Crufo, haunted by her past actions.
Yeah, their emotional scars really highlight the burden that's carried by those who are involved in these, shadowy operations.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, is it worth it? Can anyone come out of these situations unscathed.
It's a heavy toll to pay, for sure.
It is. And it's not just the main characters either, right? Like even Corey Rose, one of Betsy's friends.
He gets caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, he's trying to turn his life around, but then he gets pulled back into violence.
And ultimately sacrifices himself to protect Betsy.
It's a powerful moment.
It is. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it also shows how, even in a fictional world, these choices have consequences.
Absolutely. Like those ripples just keep spreading outward.
And they touch the lives of everyone around them.
It makes you really think about the weight of those decisions.
Yeah. Did Corey's death change your perspective on the other characters' choices at all?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it made me question their motivations even more. Like, are they really doing the right thing? Or are they just perpetuating this cycle of violence?
Yeah, it's tough to say for sure.
It is. But amidst all this darkness and intrigue, there's also this theme of human connection and resilience.
Yeah, like that bond that develops between Devine and Betsy.
Right? Two people brought together by trauma and this shared search for truth.
It's really beautiful to see how they support each other.
It is. And it's not just them either. Like even Prue,
who initially seems driven purely by revenge.
Right. But she shows these glimpses of compassion and vulnerability.
Especially towards Devine and Betsy.
It suggests that even those who have been hardened by their experiences can still find redemption through connection.
It's a hopeful message.
It is. It makes you believe that maybe even the toughest souls can find some peace.
And then there's Danny Glass.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a character that defies expectations.
Right. He's this criminal mastermind. But he's also fiercely protective of Betsy.
Yeah, his love for her is so powerful. And then when we learn about his past relationship with Betsy's mother,
it adds a whole other layer of tragedy to his character.
It makes you realize that he's not just this one-dimensional villain.
He's a complex individual with his own motivations and his own pain.
It makes you think about how our perceptions of people can be so easily influenced by limited information.
Absolutely. Like, we often make judgments based on what we see on the surface.
But there's always more to the story.
Right. Always. And I think Baldacci does a great job of peeling back those layers and revealing the complexities of his character.
He really does. And it makes you question your own assumptions about people.
And then there's the institutional corruption that's woven throughout the story.
Oh, yeah. Baldacci doesn't shy away from suggesting that some pretty powerful figures might be connected to 122465.
It's a little unsettling to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
But it also adds this layer of realism to the story.
Yeah, because we know that these things happen in the real world, right? Like, power can be abused. And even those who are supposed to protect us can sometimes be the ones we need to be protected from.
It's a sobering thought.
It is. And it's not just about these shadowy families in Washington either.
No, it's much closer to home than that.
Like Eric and Mercedes King, they use their positions in Ricketts to further the goals of 122465.
It's a chilling reminder that corruption can exist anywhere.
Yeah, even in those seemingly idyllic communities.
It makes you wonder who you can really trust.
Right, and it underscores the importance of being informed and questioning authority.
Because we can't just blindly follow those in power.
We have to hold them accountable.
Exactly. And that leads us to another critical theme, the danger of extremism and radical ideologies.
Like 122465. They're not just a group of disgruntled individuals. They're a sophisticated organization.
With a plan, resources, a strategy to reshape the nation according to their own twisted vision.
It's scary how organized and determined they are.
It is, and it makes you think about real-world extremist groups. Right, like how they operate, how they exploit social divisions, how they prey on people's fears and insecurities.
And how they use violence to achieve their goals.
It's a reminder that extremism is a real threat.
And it's something that we need to be aware of and actively resist.
Absolutely, because it can have devastating consequences.
And it's not just about overt acts of violence either.
Right. It's also about the information warfare.
Like how 122465 uses propaganda and misinformation to recruit members and spread their message.
It makes you think about how easily we can be manipulated by information.
Especially in this age of social media and online echo chambers.
It's so easy to get caught up in those bubbles where everyone agrees with you.
And you're not exposed to different perspectives.
Exactly. So it's more important than ever to be critical consumers of information.
To question sources, to be aware of the tactics that are used to manipulate our emotions and beliefs.
Because we all have a responsibility to combat the spread of misinformation.
Absolutely. You know, aside from the serious themes, one thing that really stood out to me was Baldacci's ability to create such vivid settings.
Well, he's a master at that.
Like from the bustling streets of Seattle to the eerily quiet town of Ricketts.
Each location felt so real, so tangible.
It was like you could step right into the story.
He uses such great sensory details and vivid descriptions, and even the weather plays a role in setting the mood.
It's like each setting is almost a character itself.
Exactly. Contributing to the overall atmosphere of the story.
Like the Ricketts government building.
Oh, yeah.
With its advanced security features and its opulent interior. It felt more like a fortress than a public service building.
It was almost like the building itself was hiding secrets.
Right. Reflecting the town's hidden agenda and the corrupt intentions of its leaders.
And then there's that final showdown at the 122465 compound.
Oh, man. The tension, the action, the unexpected twists.
Baldacci really knows how to craft a climactic scene.
He does. It's like he's constantly keeping you on the edge of your seat.
Just when you think you've figured everything out, he throws in another twist.
Yeah, like Anne Cassidy's betrayal of 12465.
Right. Using Danny Glass as a bargaining chip to secure her own escape.
It shows that even within a group of extremists, there are internal power struggles and betrayals.
Yeah, it's like everyone's looking out for themselves in the end.
And then Prue Jackson arrives just in time.
Talk about a grand entrance.
She's willing to put her own life on the line to help Devine and Betsy.
It's a powerful moment.
It really is. It felt like a culmination of her character arc.
A chance for redemption.
And a demonstration of her newfound loyalty.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that she's on the side of the good guys now.
And in the end, justice is served.
Though not without sacrifices.
122465 is dismantled. Anne Cassidy meets a fitting end, and Betsy is finally safe.
But even with this resolution, the novel doesn't end on a completely happy note.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's still this lingering sense of unease.
Like Corey Rose's death. It serves as a poignant reminder of the lasting impact of violence.
Yeah, the human cost of these conflicts.
And Danny Glass's escape.
It leaves us with some unanswered questions.
Like, what's he going to do next?
What are his motives?
It's almost like Baldacci is acknowledging that even with the resolution of one conflict,
there's always another challenge on the horizon.
Life isn't about neat endings.
It's about navigating complexities and facing new uncertainties.
And I think that's what gives the novel such depth and resonance.
What were your final thoughts as you closed the book?
You know, it was a mix of satisfaction and curiosity.
Yeah.
I was glad to see the main threat neutralized and Betsy finding safety. But Danny Glass's escape, it definitely left me wanting more.
It's like the story isn't over yet.
Exactly. The game is still afoot.
And that's what makes Baldacci such a master storyteller.
He keeps you engaged even after you've finished the book.
And he leaves you with something to think about.
Which is exactly what we're doing here today.
On this deep dive into To Die For.
Yeah. It's like he's leaving that door open, just a crack, you know, for a potential sequel, or maybe a spin-off series. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Glass pops up again somewhere down the line.
Oh, I hope so. He's such a fascinating character, and you never really know what he's going to do next.
Right. Like, is he going to use his skills for good? Or is he going to revert back to his old ways?
It's a question that I think will keep readers guessing for a long time.
And that's part of what makes Baldacci so good. He doesn't give you all the answers. He leaves you wanting more.
You know, one aspect of To Die For that I found particularly intriguing was the portrayal of the Odom's marriage.
Oh, yeah. Dwayne and Alice.
On the surface, they seem like this loving, picture-perfect couple.
Right.
Yeah.
But as the story unfolds, we discover infidelity, hidden relationships, a whole web of secrets beneath that facade.
Yeah, it's like that saying, right? Appearances can be deceiving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in those closest relationships, there can be hidden depths, unspoken truths, things that we as outsiders might never fully grasp.
It makes you wonder, how well do we really know the people in our own lives?
Right. Like, what secrets might they be keeping? And how might those secrets impact their actions and motivations?
And it all ties back into that central theme of the novel, the search for truth.
Devine, he's driven by this sense of justice, this desire for answers, and he just relentlessly pursues the truth, even when it leads him down a dangerous path.
Yeah, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
What did you think about Devine's unwavering determination?
You know, it's admirable, but it's also a little bit unsettling.
How so?
Well, on one hand, you admire his dedication to uncovering the truth.
Right.
His refusal to back down, even when he's facing these powerful adversaries.
Yeah, he's definitely got that stubborn streak.
But on the other hand, he sometimes operates in this moral gray area.
Yeah.
You know, bending the rules, using questionable tactics to achieve his goals.
So it makes you wonder, are there situations where the ends justify the means?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, is it ever acceptable to compromise your own ethics in the pursuit of justice?
It's a tough question. And I don't think there's an easy answer.
No, there isn't. But I think Baldacci does a good job of presenting both sides of the argument.
He does.
Right.
And he leaves it up to the reader to decide where they stand.
Which is what good storytelling is all about, right?
Absolutely. It's about sparking those conversations and making people think.
So what would you say is the most important takeaway from To Die For?
For me, it's a reminder that even in a fictional world, the themes explored corruption, extremism, the search for truth, these are all reflections of our own reality.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It's a call to be vigilant, to question authority, to think critically about the information we consume.
And to recognize that the potential for darkness exists everywhere.
Even in those seemingly idyllic corners of our lives.
And it's a testament to the power of storytelling.
Absolutely.
Baldacci manages to entertain, inform, and provoke all at once.
He leaves you with this sense of unease, a desire for more, and a renewed appreciation for the complexity of the human experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into To Die For, I want to leave you with a few questions to ponder.
Okay.
What are the limits of loyalty? What's the true cost of security? And how do we reconcile our faith in institutions with the knowledge that they can be flawed, that they can be infiltrated by those who betray the public trust?
Those are some heavy questions.
They are,
Yeah.
but they're important ones. And I think they're worth considering as we navigate the complexities of our own world.
I agree.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into To Die For.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.